This episode is brought to you by Top Notch Cattle Company, raising high-quality registered red and gray Brahman cattle. Contact Baxter Whitworth at 903-649-9155 or at bbwtopnotchcattle@gmail.com. Do you want to grow your cattle herd? Do you want to grow your cattle herd in size, quality, profit, any of those numbers? I'm going to guess you probably want to grow your cattle herd in all three of those areas. But to do that, you have to make a plan. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you will hit every time. So we're going to learn how to aim at something, and all the while, we're going to be aiming at the best targets, knowing where to spend our money, and how to make our cattle herd grow through spending our money effectively and making a business plan. So, let's get into it. Welcome to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast,
bringing you the innovative new ways of the cattle industry.
We're your hosts, Baxter Whitworth and Paul Hayes. Together, we're going to be interviewing leaders within the cattle industry.
Here on this podcast, our focus is honoring God and innovating the cattle industry. Get ready to listen, learn, and laugh as we help innovate the cattle industry.
Let's get innovating. Are you looking for high-quality hay that is priced well? Then make sure to visit Threadgill Hay Company. They have fertilized horse jigs and Tifton 85. They carry square bales and round bales. Their square bales are $8 a bale, and their 4x6 round bales are $50 per roll. That's a nice price and good quality. They're located outside of Mount Enterprise, Texas, and they will gladly give you more details when you contact them. Speaking of contacting them, you can reach out by texting Sawyer Poole at 903-646-4741 or Ronald Threadgill at 903-235-2011. It's time for another episode of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast, where we keep you current on beef cattle industry events, help you innovate your herd to turn a profit, and help innovate the beef cattle industry so we can feed more people on less land. I'm your host, Baxter Whitworth, and today I'm joined by Mr. Colton Thigpen. How are you today, Mr. Thigpen?
Outstanding, bud. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, in this today, we're gonna be talking about how to utilize your income, because sometimes we were talking about before this episode started, you just kind of want to go and buy another cow or do whatever, but that might not always be the thing that will be the most profitable for you. Sometimes it could be frozen genetics or something else, and we'll get into that in just a second. But we'll be talking about how to utilize your income and then also creating a business plan, which is not as easy as you might think. So, or might be easier than you think, depending on who you are. So,
Right.
We'll go ahead and get into it. But there's a lot of ways that you can spend money that might break even or barely make a profit. But there's other ways that will help you make more of a profit. And so, what are some of those ways that you find when you're going to make your budget, like we talked about earlier, that you say, these are the ways I need to spend my money? What are some of those ways, besides obviously the profit that you keep for your family?
Yes, sir. So I like to get into the mindset of, whenever I spend this dollar, what's it going to be? How's it going to come back to me? Okay, so am I never going to see it again? Am I going to, is it going to come back to me in a month, in a year, in 10 years, right? And depending on that time frame, is it going to come back to me twofold, fivefold, tenfold? Okay, and obviously you want it to come back tenfold in the shortest amount of time, right? And so whenever I'm spending that dollar, rather than just spending it because I see other people doing it and I know how they do and I could probably get by doing this. Okay, I want to be more intentional and I want to have a plan. Whenever I buy this cow, I know that if I give her 5 years, that at that price in 5 years, she's going to give back to me tenfold. And that's where my mind is whenever I get to spending money. Okay, at this price, am I buying a new car? When what I mean by that is, if am I buying this cow at the top of the market, and as soon as I drive her off the lot and land her at my house, is she gonna be less valuable? I want to buy stuff where when they show up to my place, they become more valuable.
A house.
Yes. Well, and because they're under my brand, they gained value instead of lost value. So I want to grow my brand to have that power. And then also, I want to be buying at the right time of the market in that cow's life. Okay, so I want her to gain value on her own, and I want her to gain value because I own her now. And if I can do those two things, then it's harder to lose.
So you're saying, and I'm going to say this phrase twice because I think it can be in two different ways. So you're saying buy a house, not a car, and then you're also saying create a house, not a car, as it refers to your brand, where the cow goes up in value, in just her raw form, but also just by going to your operation because of your brand, she goes up in value.
Right.
And not down.
That's right.
That's not fun at all.
It would be more like if my house had a slide and a pool in the back, right? And whenever you come over, it's fun because you get to play on the slide and go into the pool. Well, what if my backyard was Disneyland? It's got slides and it's got pools, but you're going to come over to my house and then you're going to pay to go on the slide.
Oh, wow. That's I like that correlation, or not her metaphor. There we go.
There
I was
we go.
doing English yesterday and it was talking about all of that stuff. But so covering we've talked about the ways of finding the way, like you said, finding a cow that's going to go up in value. But what are your baselines? Obviously, you can't let your cattle starve. You have to spend money on feed. But what are your baselines of, I need to spend money on this each month, quarter, year to make sure my cattle operation has the baseline before I spend on the other things that can give me the extra margin or the extra quality or whatever that may be?
So you're talking about like necessary expenses?
Necessary expenses, as in expenses that are absolutely necessary, but also kind of your necessary expenses, as in what you spend money on each year because you know what works.
Yeah. Here's something that's kind of a controversial topic because it's going to be your biggest expense usually, and that is your feed source, whether it be hay or sack feed or whatever. Okay. You always need to be studying this market and pivoting on this market and trying to buy as much bulk as possible without it going bad, because you can buy it cheapest in bulk. But at the same time, you can't ever be cheap and skimp on this market. Okay. And I really don't, it doesn't matter what sector of the business that you're in. Some people that know and they're in the business are going to be ruthless buyers. And if your cattle aren't in tip top shape, they're going to dock them, buy them cheaper, get them in tip top shape, and resell them. Okay. So I want mine to be in tip top shape, but I have to do it as frugally as possible without being cheap. And so there's this balance there on I don't want my feed expenses to be low, but I need to be very efficient in how I'm buying them because I can add value to my cattle the better that they look. The better they look, the better they perform, the easier are they sell, the higher they sell for.
Right. So I like that. I mean, you're saying cut down the expenses as you can, but find the ways to have those cattle in shape, because if you don't, somebody else will. And that's especially true in your industry. It's actually really true throughout all of the cattle industry, where if you're breeding cattle and selling them, because for you, it'll be a show steer, they'll take it, resell it, or they'll do the same thing for a seed stock producer, and then for a commercial producer, there's buyers that'll take them at the sale barn and do the same thing as well.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said, of feed being the largest line item, feed accounts for about, depending on your operation, feed accounts for about 60 to 70% of a rancher's input cost. And so being able to find the ways to keep that under control and lower that is a really great way to create margin.
Absolutely.
Infinity Cattle Services, owned by Chris Shivers, is glad to be a sponsor of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. Infinity Cattle Services, a unique, vision-driven, service-oriented company committed to developing successful revenue-producing cattle operations, is a full-service consulting and marketing firm specializing in Brahman and Brahman-influenced cattle. Contact them today to learn more about how they can assist you with locating cattle, cattle mating, sale management, marketing, communications, record keeping, data submission, and a wide array of other services. They can be reached at 713-202-1747. Again, that's 713-202-1747, or at infinitycattleservices@gmail.com. That is infinitycattleservices@gmail.com. Visit their website at infinitycattle.com or check them out on Facebook and Instagram.
EP Cattle Company. Owned by Eddie Wilson, EP Cattle Company is home of Sir Rao's Handshake. Rao's Handshake is a sound-structured, heavy muscle bull that is really bold ribbed. So it comes with no surprise that he is a Fort Worth and San Antonio Junior Show Division Champion and Rio Grande Valley Open Show Division Champion. He is a grandson of BRC Noble and JDH Shank Manso, and is also a great-grandson of Mr. H. Elijah Manso. You can contact Eddie Wilson or Nicole Wilson on Facebook at EP Cattle Company. So remember, if you're looking for some well-performing, registered Brahman genetics, contact Eddie Wilson on Facebook.
So, we talked about what you need to cover your bases, and then also how to spend money that will make you money. You said coming back tenfold or fivefold, and how long it's gonna take you, and that's really important. But let's move on to a business plan, because we kind of all, we all have an idea in our head of, I want my cattle operation to win. I want to sell the steer that wins Houston, or I want to sell enough commercial calves to be able to buy this plot of land beside me, or I want to sell or raise the international champion Brahman heifer, whatever it may be. We all have goals, but we may not have written them down on paper. We may not have a plan to get there. And if you don't have goals, you might want to get some goals to continue growing, because that's a pretty important part of business. And so before we even dive into the aspects of it, just plain and simple in layman's terms, what is a business plan?
A business plan is basically knowing where you want to go and knowing how you're going to get there.
So I'm going to ask the same question I asked on a budget. Do you create a business plan for this year, the next 5 years, this quarter, this month, the next 10 years? What is your business plan like?
What I do is I go 10 years and then I work down.
Okay.
I want to make a 10-year shoot for keep me busy for a long time, right? Especially you need to go far in the cattle business with that 10 plus years because a generation interval in cattle is 7.
Right.
So if I'm shooting short, if I'm making a 5-year business plan, well, I'm not even one generation of turnover in my herd. And so I can't see the fruits. It takes a lot of patience to be a good cattleman and to be a good business cattleman.
Amen.
So I start out 10 years so I can start to see some turnover, and it's close enough for me to have realistic expectations, but far enough away for me to dream a little bit.
Right.
And then I dial it back in. Okay, well, what does it look like to get there? Where's that? What look like in 5 years? Where does that look like in 3? Where does it look like in 1? What does it look like I got to do today?
Okay. Today, describe today. Today is in the next 24 hours. Today is in this quarter.
Today is in like, where are my feet right now? What can I do in this moment because what I'm doing right now, it's either helping me get to where I want to be in 10 years or it's hurting me.
Right.
And I don't want to be doing anything that's hurting me. And that's what people that are very successful and very driven, they say no to a lot. And the reason they're able to say no to a lot is because they know where they want to go and they know the things that'll help them get there, and they don't get distracted by the things that aren't going to help.
Right. Their time has value, and that value is for a specific goal. And
Absolutely.
so I don't know if you've heard of Dan Martell. He authored a book called Buy Back Your Time, but he talks about that a lot.
Yes, sir.
But so you talk a business plan being out 10 years, 5 years, that's a great way to create goals, but why would you even make a business plan? We said we have the goals in our head. Why do we need to write them down?
Absolutely. Part of it is because just like if I'm going to give a speech or if I'm going to come on here, I can think about what I want to say, right? But until you're actually on the spot saying it, you every time you get done and you think back and you're like, man, I wanted to say this and I should have said this like that. And dadgummit.
Absolutely.
And so writing it down helps you with those misses, right? It helps you hit more often. You're still going to have the misses. You're still going to need to learn, but it just helps mitigate those.
I like that. So we know why we need to make a business plan, and we might be to the point we want to make a business plan. And this is kind of the point I'm at. I want to make a business plan. I have some goals, but I may need help clarifying those goals. I might need help. How do I make the business plan? Where do I start? What do I need to include? And how do I clarify my goals?
Clarifying your goals is where I would start. And that is just making them the most attainable. So if I'm going to make a goal, don't make it general. Make it as specific as possible. And once you make it as specific as possible, then it becomes clear, right? And so if you want clarity, get the specifics down. Now, in order to be successful, just as important as it is that you define this goal and you write it down, it is equally as important, if not more important, that you are wired in a way that you can pivot when you need to pivot. And what I mean by that is, don't be so concentrated on chasing this goal when a market change, a technology change, or a technology came out that completely changes the game, and you're playing a game that doesn't even matter anymore, right? So be able to pivot. And now I have the talent, or I have the skill to be able to pivot, and I also have the skill to be able to make a new goal, right? Because I've done that before. And so pivot, make a new goal, attack this way now. And so don't overthink this goal thing. Make your goal, make it simple. Einstein, the smartest guy ever, right? Einstein said, "Keep it simple, stupid. If I can't explain it simply, I can't. I don't know it well enough, right?"
Right.
So don't overthink it. Make a plan and get to action. You'll learn as well. That was a dumb plan, right? And
Right.
you'll be able to pivot.
If you truly want your livestock to perform at their best, make sure to contact Vance Aaron, the owner and operator of AFL Livestock Solutions. Vance specializes in magnawave treatments that use pulsed electromagnetic fields, or PEMF, to relieve pain, swelling, and inflammation, caused to help your livestock feel their best. In addition to livestock, Vance can also help you feel better. His treatment works great on sore muscles and joints, along with other mobility issues. His treatments are FDA approved to treat migraines. Aaron Family Livestock Solutions has helped many exhibitors make it to the backdrop with their proven MagnaWave treatments. Don't miss your next backdrop picture. Give Vance a call at 903-720-3184. Again, that's 903-720-3184. Or find them on Facebook at AFL Livestock Solutions. Have you been looking for Brahman cattle with a good genetic background? Contact 79 Cattle Company, selling reliable Brahman replacement heifers, Brahman show prospects, and Brahman bulls. Contact Taylor Tate at 210-241-4511. Again, that's 210-241-4511. Or contact Mallory Tate at 210-861-0155. 210-861-0155. So in a business plan, because I've looked this up and it's like a lot of things on the internet, it has a million different answers to one question and it's not very consistent. And so what do I need to include in my business plan? As I'm writing out my 10-year, my 5-year, my 1 year, what does a business plan look like? What is included in it?
It depends on your business, and it depends on your business. It doesn't depend on the cattle business. It depends on your business. My plan's going to look very different if I say, okay, I want to sell seed stock bulls, some replacement females, and whatever else, okay? Well, if I have 500 head or 5 head, that business plan is going to look different even though I got the same end goal. So, okay, I want that, and I want it to be in East Texas, and I want to have this much land and this many cattle on this much land in East Texas. Because even if I have the same desire, same want, same person, and I'm in West Texas, I got to have a different amount of land to run the same amount of cattle, and I got to have a different breed of cattle to handle the environment different, right? So on making my business plan, it has to be tailored to you and what you want. And here's the thing that you're going to have trouble with, and I'm talking to you, not anybody else. I'm talking to you. Subconsciously, you think everybody else has your similar plan. Like, just because it's in your mind, you think that they know what you want. But until you can articulate it for yourself, how is anybody else going to be able to know? So if you can figure out and get specific on those things that we just talked about, then you're able to get the help that you need because you can ask the right question.
Okay, so I'm going to correlate this in my terms of I made a correlation with the podcast earlier. Before I asked to interview you, I wanted to talk about budgeting, a business plan, diversifying incomes, etc. And I decided you were the expert on that topic. And so I guess is that what you're and I decided to kind of not necessarily question for question, but the questions I wanted to ask. Is that kind of what you're talking about there?
Yeah, you had a business plan for this episode. Yep.
Got you. Okay. That makes sense. Well, so we've talked about what is a business plan. We've talked about how to make a business plan. Now here comes the part where we've put in the work of making it. Now how do we stick to it?
Nobody can make you. Nobody's going to save you. Nobody's going to do it for you. So having the goals, and that helps a lot of people get their feet moving in the day to day. But if you're not wired to be self-driven enough to know what you're going to do and go get it, then maybe you need to be doing something else.
Got you. So maybe go be somebody's manager instead.
That's right.
But well, in our last episode, I told you we always ask about how to innovate people's herd. But another question we always ask in an interview is, what is your favorite Bible verse? And I know this doesn't pertain to the topic at all, but we always like to ask this question. What's your favorite Bible verse?
My favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 12:1. And for no other reason than whenever I was young, it was the first one I memorized because it had the word stupid in it. And I didn't believe that the Bible said the word stupid. And my grandpa said it sure does. And he went and showed me where it was. And it basically talks about if you don't like being corrected, if you don't like being coached, and if you don't want to be better in that way, then you're stupid. And to take correction and get better. And that's not like my favorite heart of Jesus or like the most impactful, but it's my favorite because it was easy for me to memorize. It said stupid and it got me like wanting to read the Bible.
It's always good.
If I was going to make someone like give you a game plan on like God's heart for how he wants you to live and his business plan for your life, just kind of real short, if Proverbs chapter 3, that one is a great way to live. In Romans chapter 12 is also, if you could live out those two chapters, I think Jesus and you could get along real good.
I like that. I really like Proverbs chapter 3, so that's a good one. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and transition into our pro tip session for this episode. So, our pro tip question in this episode is, what is your pro tip for writing a business plan that has clear goals? And I know we already talked about this, but putting them down on paper, you might have, in terms of making a 1-sentence goal, I guess, what's your pro tip for making a 1-sentence goal? I'll say that.
This one is hard for me because I want to get all elaborate with mine, and it's the biggest struggle that I had was doing this right here. Honestly, if you use ChatGPT, it helps, because you could sit here for all day and be like wearing yourself out, and if you just tell ChatGPT, hey, this is my thought, and have it in 3 sentences. Now condense it down to 1 sentence. Now make it a little bit more like this, and you can kind of get to where you want to go. Some of the best people that like you're going to have a conversation with, and like you're trying to get answers out of them, you know what they do? They answer your question with the question, and you end up answering it for yourself.
That's
and
right.
I think that's what kind of ChatGPT is. It kind of does that part for you.
Have you been looking for a place to buy top quality AI sire semen or collectible of your own? Well, look no further than Elgin Breeding Services. Located in Elgin, Texas, Elgin Breeding Service is not only one of the best breeding services in the business, but also has superior customer service. Contact them at ebsbull@elginbreedingservices.com or by phone at 512-285-2019. Again, that's 512-285-2019. And visit their website at elginbreedingservice.com.
I've enjoyed talking about a business plan and its importance, and as well as utilizing income, because I think, that applies greatly to a budget, because sometimes we just want to spend money at the first shiny object we see, or first pretty fronted or heavy muscled heifer or calf that we see, but that's not always the best way to go about it. And so thank you for talking
It
to
helps
us.
take the emotion out of it.
Right. And that emotion can make objects seem pretty shiny sometimes. But thank you for joining us, and we'll be back with one more episode, so stick around. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. If you learned something about making a plan in your cattle herd, I want you to share this episode with one person that you think could benefit from that as well. And while you're at it, make sure to like this episode, leave this podcast a 5-star rating, and follow us on the streaming platform of your choice. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep innovating the cattle industry. Signing off.